Yeah, how's practice going so far? How's just the gear up towards another big game?
So far, so good. I mean, everybody is a real positive vibe to the just the buzz around the team. Really the energy ever since the initial announcement of that we were hosting has been great. I mean, I think that everybody was, very sure that we were going to get in because of our resume was so solid and polished. But we were obviously excited about getting a host. When you find out that if you win, you go to just to play against Florida State in Tallahassee, that's a bit of a sobering thought. But the game against Colorado we knew wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't. So we're pleased with the result. We're pleased with the performance, the intensity that went into that performance, and we know that we're going to have just a heck of a game to be able to get any kind of result against Florida State, because they are hands down the best team in the country, and you're playing on their pitch and in front of their crowd, and we played them to open the season, but they're so much better than they were at that time. A lot of their players were being rested coming off the World Cup, and Brian Penske has done a marvelous job with developing them and keeping their focus. They're undefeated. They're undefeated coming through the ACC, which is a dynamite league, and don't be fooled by the fact that only five ACC teams are in the NCAA tournament. It's still loaded with high end talent, and a lot of that talent is on that Florida State roster.
With Carolyn, I know we've seen sparks of it all through the season, but she had a really physical game against Colorado. How much of that physicality has been hallmarks of what you've seen from her, and how much can you attribute that to kind of being from a really athletic family too?
Well, Calzadas are a tough family.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with mom, I think. I think that you can look at, Big Brother as a quarterback who's a tough guy, and did a great job here at Texas A&M and beating Alabama, and now is doing a great job over in San Antonio as a quarterback. And Dad was a big time athlete himself, growing up in Miami, and did his thing. But I don't think any of them are tougher than Cece. And we knew coming into that game that we were going to play against the top forward out of the Pac-12 and she was came in with 15 goals in 20 games, and is most shots in the league, most everything in the league. And so for Caroline and for Margot Matula to be able to hold her without a shot on goal is really saying something. And it was a team effort to be able to do it. We knew that was something we were going to have to do, but now we've got to be able to do that for about 8 players for Florida State, and knowing that our back line is so young but have come so far in the season, and that they're up for something like that is something we can kind of hang our hat on a little bit.
How do you take preparing for Colorado, a tough game itself, to preparing for Florida State, an even tougher game? How do you change those aspects?
Well, they're different. They're different flavors of of a big meal, and Florida State, again, the fact that we have seen them, even though we saw them with the first game of the season, and they've got an amazing freshman forward. I think is the freshman of the year nationally. So when we saw her, it was her first college game. Well, now she's well into the season and has just shown how fantastic she is. Ekagini is maybe the best player in college soccer. She was coming off of a World Cup, so we only saw her for about half a game. Jody Brown didn't play against us. That's another World Cup player that was rested against us. And do you want me to go through the whole roster as far as what they have on their team? We know what they're about. We know how good they are. It was a great game when we played them here, and it was a incredibly hot day. It was about 100, literally, no exaggeration, 117 degrees that day. So it'll be different in so many ways. I don't anticipate it being over 100 degrees in November, but it'll be incredibly difficult for us going to their place. It'll be different than playing here on our field in front of the 12th man. So lots of new challenges for our young team.
And then you said Florida State's just improved throughout the season, having some of their players back. How do you feel your team has improved throughout the season?
Well, I agree. I think that we're much better. We're much better than we were in those days. We've discovered a little bit more about who we are, playing to our strengths. We've discovered things about us. We've put, I think, a lot of the right pieces in the right places. We've got different people in different places than we did at that particular time of the year, and we've got a lot of players who are playing really, really well. You talked about Carolyn Cazada, and Margot Matula at that time was playing in the midfield. Now she's a staple of our back line. Same thing with a lot of the players in the midfield. So having Anderson Williams back and playing a lot with us now has been really good. And same thing. Jasmine Wilkinson has emerged as our leading scorer, and she wasn't really involved as much at that time of the season. So it's just the same thing. It's been an evolution of our team, and this is going to be obviously a huge challenge for us. But we've got everything to gain from it, and we go into the match knowing that that's the way it's going to be. I mean, I don't think that of all the brackets around the country that anyone had Texas A&M beating Florida State, just the same way that probably nobody had Irvine beating UCLA. So we'll see how this goes.
Carissa, tell me about this game coming up. How are you guys preparing?
Just working on all the things we know how to do, and then we've already played them once before, so we know a few of their strengths and their weaknesses, so just capitalizing on those.
Coach was saying how Florida State's only gotten better throughout the season, and y'all as well. How do you think
Yeah.
you've improved since your last match?
I mean, as a whole, I think we've just really grown together, connection-wise, just knowing each other's what each other are capable of and helping out on our own weaknesses. So I think that's going to be really good. And then obviously they've gotten better, like you said. So finding out they brought new players on since we last played them. So for sure, just pointing out those players and marking up pretty much.
Have you guys been watching film from the last one, or just throughout the season, and what have you noticed in that?
We haven't watched any yet. I'm sure tomorrow's going to be the day we capitalize. We were looking back at our Colorado game today. And just the good and the bad. So, but for sure, I think we're going to take a look back at our last game against them, but also some of their newer games because, like you said, they improved. So,
And then anything y'all are tweaking for Colorado for Florida State?
finish our chances, getting on the end of crosses. We focused on that today in film. So just we had 18 crosses, I think Phil said in the box from Colorado, and we didn't score off a single cross. So, movement off the ball, things like that.
Just talk to me about what you guys have been doing preparing for Florida State.
I think just focusing on the little details, defenders were working on covering for each other and back to goal defending, and forwards were working on getting the ball in the back of the net.
And then how are you personally handling this big challenge up ahead?
I think just knowing that we can do it and keeping our confidence high and our heads up. It's going to be challenging for sure, but we know we can do it, so just trying to stay positive.
And who do you think played the best in Colorado that you think advanced further this season?
I don't know. I think we had some pretty good performances all around, but Kenna made some crazy saves, and I think she's having a phenomenal season. So I'm excited to see the saves she makes during the games.
And then anything else you want to add about Florida State?
I think we played against them well in the beginning of the fall, and we've only improved since then. So I'm excited to see how well we can play.
Alrighty, thanks.
Thanks.